After throwing away a winning position against the candidate's master in round 2, I had just two choices: let the loss break me or come back stronger. This is round 3. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and on today's video we are analysing my round 3 game that I played in the open tournament, and let's see if I was able to recover from the loss of round 2. So in this game I was white. This is my full name, Fadila Ekumi Yusuf, and my opponent was black. His name is Ofili Joseph Chukwuemeka, and the game started with d4. And on move 1, my opponent surprised me on move 1 and played f5. It was a surprise to me because this is the first time I am facing the Dutch defense in an over-the-board tournament. Probably in Blitz, online Blitz or Bullet, yes I have. But in an over-the-board tournament, this is my first time. So I just went to the normal standard move, developed my knight. There are so many setups you can play, but you guys can watch and learn from my setup, because this game was just over in 6 moves. Watch and learn. I developed my knight. My opponent developed his knight also, and I just went bishop g5, putting pressure on the knight on f6. And yet my opponent played the normal move with e6. Now these are all standard move. And here in this position, the best move for me to play is e4 with the idea of playing e5. But yeah, I thought for a while and I changed the move order, and I played this move knight f3. Though knight f3 is a mistake, but I was still happy with this move is because on the next move I'm going to play e5, and my knight, I'm bringing my knight to take control of the e5 square too, to support my pawn, and also is also serving as a guide to my bishop too. Though the engine does not like it, the engine prefers e4 direct, but it's still a fine move. But in this position, my opponent made a very big mistake here with b6. Now, why is b6 a mistake? B6 is a mistake. Should I say a mistake or inaccuracy? Because in the Dutch defense, though I'm not an expert in that field, but I know that the idea generally is you need to break away from this pin, because this is a pin. My bishop is putting serious pressure on this knight, and the general idea is to play this bishop e7. Playing this bishop e7 frees you from this pin, and you should castle immediately. Or you can play your bishop to b4, putting a pin on my own knight, and castle immediately. So that's just the general idea. So this b6, is it to develop your bishop? Maybe, but let's wait and see how I punish that move. And here in this position I played e4. Now the plan on e4 is to play e5, put serious pressure on this pawn, on this knight. That's why I said earlier that bishop e7 was a very good move. So e5 here won't be as dangerous as its look. But yeah, my opponent can also trade, but if we trade this pawn, I also have this knight take, still putting serious pressure on this knight, which is why b6 was a very slow move. And here my opponent maybe did not analyze the position very well. Because the threat of his e5 is coming soon. I felt the best move for him was either to take this pawn, allow me to recapture my knight, then play bishop e7, or you should play bishop e7 immediately. But in this position, my opponent played bishop b4. Now, like I said, just on move 5, I already have a crushing position. I have a winning position just on move 5. That's to show you, and everything started with just this one move, this knight move that I made. Though the knight move was not the best, because I think this knight move surprised my opponent. He did not expect knight f3, because that's not the main theory move. But yeah, my opponent made the mistake with bishop b4. Now why is bishop b4 a mistake? Because now he just allowed me to play e5. He allowed my idea with e5. And then I played e5. My opponent took my knight. I just recaptured back. And now there is serious pressure on e5. On this knight on f6. Here my opponent played h6. I just went back. Because if I had just taken, if I had rushed and take this knight, my opponent can take my bishop too. So that is why I went back to h4. I brought my bishop to h4. And then my opponent played g5. g5 here is a very big mistake because it allows me to sack my knight. If I sack my knight, pawn take, bishop takes, then I still have this pin, which is a very, very serious threat. But here in this position, I made a mistake here. I saw the idea of knight take and bishop take. I saw this idea, but because there were so many moves, so many options for me, but I just ended taking the knight on f6. Knight on f6 is a miss. Why is it a miss? Because like I said earlier, this knight sack would have given me a very, very good position. But still, I still had a little bit of edge here. My opponent took my bishop and I played a very silly move. I thought of, okay, if I take this pawn and my opponent can take and I come here with check, there is really nothing there because my opponent can just play queen f7 to block the check. So there is really nothing there. What did I really gain in that position? So that's why I played this move. I played f7. Now, why f7 is an inaccuracy? Because I'm just giving up a pawn. But my plan was, I want to this king, I don't want it to have the right to castle again, because the king is somehow forced to take, or he can move here or here, and he's going to lose the right to castle, which was my own plan. My opponent took, and I went knight e5. Now knight e5, with knight e5, the king is on check. My opponent has lost the right to castle, and now his king is on serious danger. His king is very open. There is the idea of just bringing my queen here, so I had too many threats in the position. And here my opponent made a very big mistake with king f8. Now why king f8 is a mistake is, this is just a fork. This knight here is a fork. I'm telling the king check, and this rook I'm going to win it on the next move. My opponent played king g7, and I just took the rook. My opponent took back, and I played this move with queen h5. Now queen h5, the plan is I'm putting pressure on this h6 pawn and this h4 pawn, and my opponent guided it with queen g5. Now in this position, I don't want to trade queen. The reason of me not trading queen is, yes, I'm up an exchange, but is that worth the advantage? Because now my opponent still has its 8 pawn complete. This 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My opponent still has its 8 pawn complete, which is a serious problem for me. That's why I did not trade queen. I declined the queen exchange, and I went here with check. My opponent blocked, and I played queen e7. The idea of queen e7 is to put a lot of pressure here. Now why this position is winning for me, it's just crushing, because my opponent, number one, does not have a safe king. Number two, has not developed any of his pieces. He is back rank. His rook is undeveloped, the knight undeveloped, the bishop undeveloped, and I'm putting serious pressure on this h4 pawn again. So that's why the position is just so crushing. Yeah, my opponent found a very nice move. He had to sacrifice the h4 pawn, and he developed his knight with knight c6. I took the h5 pawn, putting pressure on the h6 pawn. My opponent defended it, and yeah, me too, I have not really developed my bishop. I used the idea to develop my bishop. My opponent developed his bishop too, and yeah, I know I'm winning in this position, but how can I prove it? I need to find a way to open up this diagonal, make my bishop very useful, and if possible, this diagonal too. That's why I played this move with rook g8, rook g1. Now the idea of rook g1 is on the next move I want to play g4. Sorry, on the next move I want to play g4. I want to open up this diagonal for my rook, for my bishop, and probably some checkmate ideas right there. Yeah, my opponent found a very nice move, which is e5. Now, to me in the game, it was a very nice move because the idea of e5 is simple. If I take, let's say I end up taking this pawn on e5, my opponent takes back, there will be a serious pressure on my bishop, and I don't want my bishop to leave this diagonal. So that's why I said e5 for me was very, very nice. And if I don't take, e4 is coming. So my bishop is going to be forced away to move away from this diagonal, which was something I did not want. But in the long run, after thinking for some time, I found this idea that, okay, I don't need to take, but I see the idea of my opponent coming to play e4. And I said, okay, if e4 comes, I always have this move with bishop c4. But why don't I castle? So when I castle, my rook can always come to the center. Idea of maybe doing the rook lift, coming here with serious pressure, which was why I castled here in this position. And my opponent played e4, and yeah, I just played bishop c4. Bishop c4. Yeah, my opponent attacked my bishop because my bishop is not protected here, and here my bishop has serious pressure on this diagonal. So I do not really want to remove my bishop from this diagonal, but I just played this move with bishop b3. And here in this position, my opponent played d5. I felt d5 was a very good move because now the diagonal that was making my bishop very, very active is closed. Now my bishop feels like misplaced in this place. And here I played g4. The idea of g4 is just to break open. I want my break open this file for my rook. I want my rook to get active. Here my opponent played f4. He closed the file because if you are taking this pawn, rook takes g4 will be very, very crushing, and there will be checkmate. Rook takes g4 will be crushing. So that's why my opponent played f4. And here I play queen e7. And the idea of queen e7 is simple. I'm putting pressure on the c7 pawn, and my main aim is to also play e5 with check and win this pawn on f4. And here my opponent found a very nice move. He played queen c6. Analyzing this game with the engine, me seeing all the moves I thought was very nice from my opponents, now seeing it as very bad move. But the idea of queen c6 is simple. Now this pawn is defended, and it's putting pressure on my c3 pawn, which I thought for a while here, and I went with check. My opponent moved. Now I calculated, should I take this pawn now? But I felt this queen b3 was very, very strong. But now that I'm seeing it, after queen b3, I could have just played king b1. There was nothing there. But yeah, I just played the very big mistake with king b2. Now immediately I played this move, I was scared, like as if I just blundered, because my opponent rushed and he played this move, knight c4. Now knight c4 is a fork, so that's why I was scared. Knight c4 is a fork because now it's telling me check, and now there's also there's an attack on my queen. But I was just happy because in the long run I had this bishop here to take this knight, so I was very, very relieved. So I just took. My opponent took back with the queen, and yeah, I captured this pawn on f4. Now the threat is simple. I want to take this pawn, and then my opponent made because he saw the threat. I'm planning to take h4 pawn, and here he made the final mistake with king h8, king h7. Now king h7 is just losing on the spot. This is mate in 7. There's mate looming around. So this king h8 just made me win this game on the spot. And here I found the best move with queen f7 check, and this move is forced, and here I just played g6 and g5. And the idea of g5 is I want to take this pawn with some checkmate ideas, or if he takes, I take back with my rook, and this is some checkmate here too. So checkmate was just all around in the position, and there was nothing. My opponent cannot stop it. They try some trick here. He came here, he told me check. I just moved my king away, and he brought his queen here, hoping I would trade. But here in this position, I just made the final move with queen f6. And something funny happened here. This is a check. Queen f6, though it's not checkmate yet. This is a check here. Where can my opponents play? My opponents can either play here or here. And my opponent thought for a while and he moved this pawn to h5. And I was like, what just happened? Because you're on check. Like my bro, you're on check. You can't move. If you're on check, you can't move anything apart from your king. Or if there's a piece that can actually take what's checking your king. So I just paused the clock. I was about to call the arbiter, but I just told my opponent, you're on check, you can't play anything. That's like an illegal move. And yeah, my opponent just resigned. So this game was very, very easy right from the start. Right from move 5. Right from move 5, I had a very, very winning position, a crushing position. My opponent did not really find the best solution. And even me, I did not really find the best or the best way to convert my advantage. But still, my position was too strong that even my mistakes were not as bad for me to lose my advantage. And yes, I just went on to crush my opponent in this game. It was a flawless victory from the start to the finish, and I was very, very happy. I was happy that yes, after my loss to the CM in round 2, I was able to bounce back. So after the third round, I was on 2 out of 3 going into the fourth round. Now the fourth round, I was paired with a 2000 rated player, which was a very, very crazy game. At one point, I was winning, shaking my head, dancing, and the next minute, I was really, really frowning. See you in the next one. Get out of here.